your knees talk back to you? Do your fingers feel stiff, your shoulders tight, your joints older than you feel inside? Here's the truth most people over 60 are never told. Joint pain is not just about age, it's about collagen loss. And the good news, you can support collagen naturally with the right foods starting today. After the age of 60, joint pain is often accepted as normal aging, but that belief quietly stops people from looking at the real cause. Aging itself does not create pain. What actually changes is the body's ability to maintain its structural proteins, especially collagen. Collagen is the primary building material of cartilage, tendons, ligaments, and the cushioning inside your joints. When collagen declines, joints lose their shock absorption, flexibility, and smooth movement. The result is stiffness when you wake up, discomfort after sitting, and pain during simple activities that once felt effortless. Here's something most people don't realize. Collagen production doesn't just slow down a little after 60, it drops significantly. Every year, the body produces less collagen while breaking down more of what already exists. That imbalance creates a silent erosion inside the joints. Cartilage thins, joint spaces narrow, and friction increases. Movement that should be smooth becomes rough. Pain is not the first problem, it's the final signal that the structure underneath has weakened. Think about how a car functions without enough oil. The engine still runs, but every mile causes more damage. Joints behave the same way when collagen levels fall. You can keep moving, but each step creates wear instead of support. This is why many people feel worse after activity instead of better. The joint is no longer protected the way it was designed to be. Another critical factor is inflammation. As collagen declines, joints become more vulnerable to inflammatory damage. Low-grade chronic inflammation slowly degrades cartilage, making joints sensitive and reactive. This is why stiffness often lasts longer in the morning and why cold weather can intensify discomfort. The joint environment has changed not because of age alone, but because the internal repair system is undernourished. What makes this even more important is that collagen loss doesn't happen overnight. It begins years earlier, quietly, without pain. By the time discomfort becomes noticeable, the body has already been struggling to keep up with repair. That's why painkillers may dull symptoms, but never solve the problem. They don't rebuild tissue. They don't restore cushioning. They simply mask the signal while the joint continues to weaken. There's also a psychological side that often gets ignored. When people believe pain is inevitable, they move less. Less movement leads to weaker muscles around the joint. Weaker muscles place more stress directly on cartilage. That creates a cycle. Pain leads to inactivity. Inactivity leads to weakness. Weakness leads to more pain. Collagen loss sits quietly at the center of that cycle. What's encouraging is that the body never completely loses the ability to rebuild. Even after 60, collagen production can be supported when the body is given the right raw materials and reduced stressors. Joints are living tissues. They respond to nutrition, circulation, and movement. The idea that joints are used up is outdated and inaccurate. When you understand that joint pain is not a life sentence, but a nutritional and structural issue, everything changes. The focus shifts from managing pain to supporting repair. Instead of asking, how do I stop this pain? The better question becomes, what does my joint tissue need to heal and stay strong? That shift alone opens the door to better mobility, confidence in movement, and a sense of control over your own body. Joint pain after 60 is not a punishment for aging, it's feedback. And when you listen to that feedback correctly, you can begin addressing the cause instead of chasing temporary relief. What you eat every day is either quietly rebuilding your joints or slowly breaking them down, and most people are unaware of how powerful this effect truly is. Food is not just fuel or calories, it is information. Every meal sends chemical signals that tell your body whether to repair tissue or to inflame it. After the age of 60, when natural collagen production is already declining, those signals become even more important. The wrong foods can accelerate joint degeneration, while the right foods can support strength cushioning and long-term mobility. One of the biggest problems is that modern diets are heavily inflammatory. Refined carbohydrates, sugar, processed oils, and packaged foods trigger insulin spikes and inflammatory pathways that directly damage joint tissue. This inflammation doesn't always feel dramatic at first. It builds slowly, creating swelling inside the joint capsule and breaking down cartilage over time. People often blame their knees or hips, but the real issue started years earlier on the plate. There's also the issue of missing building blocks. Joints are made from specific raw materials, amino acids, minerals, healthy fats, and vitamins that support collagen formation. If those nutrients are not consistently supplied, the body has no choice but to sacrifice repair. Think of it like trying to fix a house without bricks or cement. The intention to heal may be there, but the materials are missing. This is why simply eating enough is not enough. Quality matters more than quantity. Another overlooked factor is digestion. As we age, stomach acid tends to decrease. Lower stomach acid means poorer protein breakdown and reduced absorption of key minerals like zinc and magnesium. Even if someone eats collagen-rich foods, weak digestion can prevent those nutrients from reaching the joints. This creates a situation where people believe they are eating well, yet their joints continue to suffer. The problem is not effort, it's efficiency. Food also plays a direct role in pain sensitivity. Certain dietary patterns increase nerve sensitivity around joints, making discomfort feel more intense than it should. Highly processed foods can amplify pain signals, while nutrient-dense foods help calm them. This explains why some people feel immediate joint relief when they clean up their diet, even before structural changes fully occur. The nervous system responds quickly when inflammation drops. Another critical point is hydration at the cellular level. Cartilage is largely composed of water held together by collagen. Diets high in sugar and salt pull water out of tissues, leaving joints dry and less resilient. Foods rich in minerals and natural fats help retain hydration inside joint tissue, allowing cartilage to remain elastic instead of brittle. A dry joint wears down much faster than a well-hydrated one. Perhaps the most empowering truth is that food choices compound over time. One healthy meal won't fix years of damage, but consistent choices create momentum. Day by day, inflammation lowers, nutrients accumulate, and the internal environment becomes more favorable for repair. Many people are surprised that stiffness fades. Gradually, movement becomes easier, and confidence returns not from aggressive treatment, but from daily nourishment. The body is always responding to what you give it. Every bite is a vote, either for inflammation or for repair. When food becomes intentional instead of automatic, joints stop being passive victims of aging and start becoming responsive, adaptable tissue again. This is not about restriction or perfection. It's about alignment, giving the body what it recognizes as supportive rather than harmful, and allowing natural healing mechanisms to do what they were designed to do. Long-term joint strength is rarely the result of one dramatic action. It is built quietly through small, repeated habits that shape how your joints respond over time. After 60, the body becomes less forgiving of neglect, but it also becomes more responsive to consistency. What you do daily matters far more than what you do occasionally. Joints adapt to the signals they receive every day, whether those signals promote breakdown or renewal. One of the most underestimated habits is gentle, regular movement. Joints are designed to move, and movement is what stimulates circulation inside joint tissue. Cartilage does not have its own blood supply. It depends on motion to receive nutrients and remove waste. When movement becomes infrequent, joints essentially starve. Even simple activities like walking, stretching, or light resistance send a message to the body that these joints are still needed, still active, still worth maintaining. Another daily habit that shapes joint strength is posture and alignment. The way you sit, stand, and walk determines how pressure is distributed across your joints. Poor alignment places repeated stress on specific areas, accelerating wear in those joints. Over time, that stress becomes pain. Small corrections, practiced consistently, reduce unnecessary strain and allow joints to move within their natural range. This reduces inflammation and preserves cartilage without requiring intense effort. Sleep also plays a silent but powerful role. During deep sleep, the body shifts into repair mode, growth hormone increases, inflammation decreases, and tissue regeneration accelerates. Chronic poor sleep interrupts this process, leaving joints in a constant state of incomplete repair. Many people focus on supplements or exercises while ignoring sleep quality, not realizing that without proper rest, progress is limited. A consistent sleep routine becomes a joint protective habit, even though it doesn't feel directly connected to movement. Daily stress management is another overlooked factor. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, a hormone that breaks down tissue when it stays high for too long. Elevated cortisol interferes with collagen repair and increases inflammation throughout the body, including the joints. Simple daily practices such as breathing exercises, short walks, or moments of stillness can lower stress hormones and create a more favorable internal environment for joint health. The body repairs better when it feels safe, not rushed. Nutrition habits also work best when they are steady rather than extreme. Consistently supplying the body with protein, healthy fats, and micronutrients allows joint tissue to maintain itself instead of constantly playing catch up. Sporadic healthy eating followed by long gaps of poor choices creates instability in the repair process. Joints thrive on predictability. When the body can rely on regular nourishment, it allocates resources more efficiently toward maintenance and strength. Another small habit with long-term impact is hydration. Joints rely on fluid for lubrication and shock absorption. Mild dehydration, even when unnoticed, reduces joint resilience and increases friction. Making hydration a daily priority helps maintain the fluid balance within cartilage, keeping joints smoother and less reactive to stress. This is not about drinking excessively, but about consistency throughout the day. Perhaps the most powerful habit of all is attention. Paying attention to how your joints respond to certain activities, foods, or routines allows you to adjust before pain becomes severe. Early signals like stiffness or reduced range of motion are opportunities, not failures. Responding to those signals with supportive habits prevents minor issues from becoming chronic problems. Over time, these small actions stack. Each day of movement, rest, nourishment, and awareness reinforces the joint's ability to handle stress. Strength is no longer measured by how much force a joint can tolerate, but by how well it recovers. That recovery capacity is built slowly, patiently, through habits that may seem simple, but are profoundly effective when practiced consistently. Inflammation is often misunderstood. Many people think of it as swelling or redness after an injury, but the most damaging form is the quiet, chronic inflammation that develops over years. This type of inflammation does not announce itself loudly. It works in the background, gradually degrading cartilage, irritating joint tissue, and accelerating collagen breakdown. By the time pain becomes noticeable, inflammation has already been active for a long time, reshaping the internal environment of the joint. As we age, the body becomes more sensitive to inflammatory triggers. Food, stress, poor sleep, and even lack of movement can all push the immune system into a low-grade inflammatory state. When this happens, joints become prime targets. Cartilage, which is meant to be smooth and resilient, begins to soften and thin under inflammatory pressure. The joint loses its natural shock absorption and movement starts to feel less fluid and more effortful. One of the most important things to understand is that inflammation is not just a reaction, it is a condition. When inflammation becomes chronic, it changes how cells behave. Cells responsible for repairing joint tissue slow down, while cells involved in tissue breakdown become more active. This imbalance leads to a net loss of collagen and cartilage. Pain is not the cause of this process, it is the outcome. Another overlooked effect of chronic inflammation is fluid imbalance inside the joint. Inflammatory chemicals alter how fluid is distributed, often leading to stiffness and pressure sensations. This is why joints can feel tight or uncomfortable even without visible swelling. The joint capsule becomes irritated, movement becomes restricted, and simple actions like standing up or climbing stairs begin to feel demanding. What makes inflammation particularly problematic after 60 is that recovery from it takes longer. The body is still capable of calming inflammation, but it requires clearer signals and more consistent support. When inflammatory triggers are constant, the body never fully exits defense mode, repair is postponed, and joints remain stuck in a cycle of irritation rather than regeneration. Reducing inflammation naturally is not about suppressing the immune system. It is about removing unnecessary triggers and supporting balance. When inflammatory load decreases, the body automatically shifts toward repair. This shift can happen gradually, often felt first as reduced morning stiffness or improved comfort during movement. These early changes are signs that the internal joint environment is becoming more stable. Stress plays a major role in this process. Chronic psychological stress increases inflammatory signaling throughout the body. Elevated stress hormones interfere with collagen synthesis and promote tissue breakdown. Even when diet and movement are addressed, unmanaged stress can keep inflammation elevated. This is why people often notice joint flare-ups during stressful periods, even without changes in physical activity. Another key factor is blood sugar stability. Frequent spikes in blood sugar trigger inflammatory pathways that directly affect joint tissue. Over time, this leads to increased stiffness and sensitivity. Stabilizing blood sugar helps calm these pathways, allowing joints to exist in a less reactive state. Many people underestimate how closely joint comfort is tied to metabolic balance. Movement, when done correctly, also reduces inflammation. Gentle, regular motion improves circulation and helps clear inflammatory byproducts from joint tissue. In contrast, prolonged inactivity allows these substances to accumulate, increasing stiffness and discomfort. The goal is not intensity, but consistency. Joints respond best to movement that is frequent and non-aggressive. When inflammation is reduced, something important happens: pain sensitivity decreases. Joints may not change structurally overnight, but the way they feel begins to improve. Movement becomes less guarded, confidence returns, and the fear of pain slowly fades. This creates a positive cycle where better movement further reduces inflammation, reinforcing joint stability. Calming inflammation is not a quick fix, but it is one of the most powerful shifts a person can make. When the internal environment becomes less hostile, joints are no longer under constant attack. They gain the opportunity to stabilize, adapt, and function as they were designed to. This change does not require force or urgency, only steady, supportive choices that allow the body to return to balance. Many people reach a point where they quietly tell themselves that strength belongs to the past. They assume that stiffness, weakness, and limitation are simply the price of getting older. This belief is powerful, and unfortunately, it often does more damage than aging itself. The human body does not have an expiration date for strength. What changes with age is not the potential to feel strong, but the strategy required to support that strength. Muscles, joints, and connective tissue are designed to adapt throughout life. Even in later decades, the body responds to the signals it receives. When it receives signals of use, nourishment, and recovery, it adjusts accordingly. When it receives signals of neglect, fear, or resignation, it conserves and weakens. Strength is not only about muscle size or force, it is about resilience, coordination, and the confidence to move without hesitation. One of the biggest obstacles is the fear of causing damage. Many people avoid movement because they believe their joints are fragile. Ironically, this avoidance accelerates weakness. Controlled, appropriate movement strengthens the muscles that protect joints and improves joint stability. The body interprets gentle stress as a reason to reinforce tissue. Without that signal, it slowly reduces support. Feeling strong again begins when movement is reintroduced with intention, not force. Strength also has a neurological component. The nervous system plays a major role in how stable and capable the body feels. When someone has experienced pain for a long time, the nervous system becomes cautious. It limits range of motion and tightens muscles to prevent perceived danger. This protective pattern can persist even when tissue damage is minimal. As inflammation lowers and movement becomes consistent, the nervous system begins to relax. Movements that once felt risky start to feel natural again. Another important factor is protein utilization. As we age, the body becomes less efficient at using protein to maintain muscle and connective tissue. This does not mean strength is unattainable. It means the body needs clearer signals and better support. Adequate protein intake combined with movement tells the body that strength is still required. Over time, muscle quality improves, posture stabilizes, and joints feel more supported from the outside in. There is also an emotional component that is often overlooked. Strength is closely tied to independence. The ability to stand up easily, walk confidently, or carry everyday items without discomfort reinforces self-trust. When people regain these abilities, even gradually, something shifts internally. They move differently. They breathe differently. They stop bracing for pain. This change alone reduces unnecessary tension that contributes to joint stress. Recovery plays a crucial role as well. Feeling strong again does not come from pushing harder. It comes from recovering better. Rest, sleep, and stress reduction allow the body to integrate the benefits of movement and nutrition. Without recovery, progress stalls. With it, even small efforts produce noticeable improvements. The body repairs and adapts during rest, not during exertion. Another important realization is that strength does not need to look like it did at 30. It does not need to be explosive or extreme. Functional strength, the kind that supports daily life, is often more valuable. Being able to move smoothly, maintain balance, and recover quickly from activity represents true strength at any age. This type of strength reduces injury risk and supports long-term joint health. When people let go of the idea that it is too late, they often discover how responsive their bodies still are. Improvements may begin subtly with less stiffness or better endurance, but they build. Each positive change reinforces the next. The body recognizes consistency and rewards it with stability and confidence. Feeling strong again is not about reversing time. It is about working with the body as it is now, understanding its needs, and responding with patience and respect. Strength returns not as a sudden transformation, but as a steady reminder that the body is still capable, still adaptive, and still very much alive. Garlic has been used for centuries, not as a trend or a supplement, but as a foundational food for strength and resilience. What makes garlic especially important for joint health is not one single compound, but the way it supports multiple systems at the same time. Joints do not exist in isolation. They depend on circulation, inflammation control, immune balance, and connective tissue repair. Garlic quietly influences all of these, which is why its effects often feel deeper and more lasting than people expect. One of garlic's most valuable contributions to joint health is sulfur. Sulfur is an essential mineral required for the formation of collagen and connective tissue. Without adequate sulfur, the body cannot properly maintain cartilage, tendons, or ligaments. As we age, sulfur intake often decreases because modern diets rely heavily on processed foods that are stripped of natural sulfur compounds. Garlic helps fill this gap in a natural and highly usable form, giving the body raw material it needs to maintain joint structure. Garlic also plays a powerful role in controlling inflammation at the cellular level. It helps regulate inflammatory signaling rather than shutting it down completely. This distinction matters. The goal is not to silence the immune system, but to prevent it from remaining constantly overactive. Chronic inflammation accelerates cartilage breakdown and interferes with collagen repair. Garlic helps shift the body out of this inflammatory state, creating an internal environment where joints are less irritated and more stable. Another important benefit of garlic is its effect on circulation. Healthy joints depend on efficient blood flow to deliver nutrients and remove metabolic waste. Poor circulation allows inflammatory byproducts to accumulate inside joint tissue, increasing stiffness and discomfort. Garlic supports vascular health, helping blood vessels remain flexible and responsive. Improved circulation means joints receive oxygen, minerals, and amino acids more effectively, which supports long-term comfort and mobility. Garlic also supports immune balance, which is especially relevant as the body ages. An overactive or dysregulated immune response can mistakenly target joint tissue, increasing irritation and sensitivity. Garlic contains compounds that help modulate immune activity, reducing unnecessary immune-driven inflammation. This immune calming effect is one reason garlic has traditionally been associated with resilience rather than just short-term symptom relief. Another overlooked aspect is garlic's impact on oxidative stress. Oxidative stress damages collagen fibers and accelerates joint aging. Garlic contains antioxidants that help neutralize free radicals before they harm connective tissue. This protective effect helps preserve existing collagen, slowing the rate at which joints lose their cushioning and elasticity. Preservation is just as important as rebuilding when it comes to joint longevity. Garlic also influences gut health, which indirectly affects joints more than most people realize. A compromised gut can allow inflammatory compounds to enter the bloodstream, increasing systemic inflammation and joint sensitivity. Garlic supports a healthier balance of gut bacteria, strengthening the gut barrier and reducing inflammatory load. When the gut environment improves, joints often feel the benefit through reduced stiffness and improved comfort. What makes garlic particularly effective is its consistency factor. Small amounts consumed regularly tend to produce better results than large amounts taken occasionally. This aligns with how joint tissue responds to support. Steady, predictable input allows the body to adapt and integrate the benefits over time. Garlic does not work as a quick fix, but as a steady ally that reinforces joint health day by day. Some people notice that when garlic becomes a regular part of their diet, joints feel less reactive. Morning stiffness shortens. Movement feels smoother. These changes often appear subtly, but they are meaningful. They signal that internal inflammation is calming and connective tissue is receiving better support. Garlic does not force the body to heal. It removes obstacles that prevent healing. By supporting collagen formation, reducing inflammation, improving circulation, calming immune overactivity, and protecting against oxidative damage, garlic creates conditions where joints can function more comfortably and reliably. Its power lies in its simplicity. A single natural food used consistently, supporting complex systems that joints depend on every